Well, hello. I think I'm live. I'm going to take a peek here on Facebook if I can do two things at once. And I want to welcome you to our Facebook Live tonight. I'm Coach Diana, and I am in Northeast Ohio. And while I'm waiting for our tech person, I believe I have Amanda tonight. Oh, today is Karen supporting me. So if you're out there, I'm going to flip to the comment section and just ask if you're out there. I would appreciate just you giving me a holler and letting me know that you're seeing me and that we're live. And as we're just allowing people to come in, we'll get started in just a moment. All right. Hi, Kathy. I see you. So tonight's topic is, how do you get through things getting worse before getting better? That part of the healing journey. Yeah. And sometimes I think that's just the process of moving through life. But that's what we'll be talking about. And while you're weighing in, I am live from Northeast Ohio and thinking about how do you get through the things getting worse before they get better. Part of, we're heading toward winter here. And if you're from the northeast part of the U.S., often near the lake, you recognize that the winters are long. They can be cold and they can be dark. We don't get a ton of snow here any longer, but it is a long winter. And sometimes it feels like it's moving through worse before we get to spring and summer. And I don't know about you, but I like longer days, a lot of sunlight. When it's bright in the morning and it's still light later into the day. So if you just let me know where you're dialing in from. I see Kathy and Francis and Kathy in Utah. So it's just me tonight, Coach Diana. And as soon as I hear a little bit more from y'all, I will begin. I'm just checking to see what we've got going. Oh, Louisiana. Well, that sounds wonderful and warm. I'm thinking about becoming a halfbacker. Is that what they call it? Where you travel back and forth through the cold winter months to a warmer state. So while we're getting started, I just want to ask you a little bit about how you identify with things getting worse before they get better. I'm traditionally trained as a therapist and now a coach. And one of the things we tell our clients is that it will get hard and it will get difficult before it gets better. And so I'm wondering what you resonate with in terms of this topic today. What is it that you are moving through that feels like it might be getting worse, or maybe something you've been through, so that you could shed some insight on what that journey's like? Oh, snowbird. Okay. I think I've heard halfback too. I want to be a snowbird. I will go visit down south during the winter months and see if I can find a location to work from, because I can work from anywhere, mostly. I want to remind you that this is Leslie's public Facebook page. So we have support from Amanda tonight, and she will give you information about how to ask questions if you'd like to ask them privately. And also, you can use maybe a pseudo person that you're asking for if that's more comfortable for you. But what that means that it's not private is that anyone has access to reading this history. They can access the recording, they can access your comments. And so we want you to be mindful of your safety, your security, and your privacy. We do have groups where we have private Facebook pages, and that's one of the luxuries of being a part of the community that we have here in Concord. So we'll be talking a little bit about that later on tonight. And so as you're weighing in, and I see people are maybe still getting dinner, I want to ask you the question about how you resonate with getting through to the healing part. How do you resonate with what's hard as you're moving forward, creating change, making decisions, and waiting for it to get better. And I recognize T. Howard. You're so faithful on all of our Facebook lives. It's good to see you tonight. Yeah, and it's true. When you're in hard, and certainly it sounds like your season of hard has been a long duration, and thoughts and beliefs really come into play. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But just acknowledging that our thoughts and our beliefs about what it looks like can play a huge role in how we move through it. I can resonate with that on it's not related to a relationship, but just related to getting through the seasons. As I get older, it gets hard to move through the dark seasons of fall and winter. And I want to isolate. I want to hibernate. But if I'm not careful, that can affect my mood state and my mobility. And so what I tell myself about the winter months is really important. And I've learned to talk to myself about that differently. And I want to welcome Laura from Louisiana. And so hopefully along the way tonight, I'll talk to you a little bit about scripts and why they're helpful and how they can be important. But as a part of moving forward, I want to ask you again, when you think of it getting worse, what's your reference point? Is it the weather? Is it maybe, I remember when I was raising teenagers, all the years of the difficult emotions and really not knowing how to support them best, but trying my best to support them. It felt hard. And sometimes you might feel that way. I remember Focus on the Family, when they were in their earlier years, they were dedicated to helping moms of young toddlers who were in the home raising toddlers with maybe minimal support, just moving through the hard days. Sometimes you feel like it's never going to end, whatever that might be. But some of you may be moving through a major life change, maybe a job change, maybe learning new skills that aren't natural for you is a part of getting worse, doing hard as a part of your journey. Learning new skills such as using your voice, saying no, for me, speaking publicly. It is a skill that I've had to add later on in my career as I got older, and not one that came natural for me. Sometimes doing hard, I resonate. I don't know about y'all, but when we went through 2020, I had a major foot surgery. And early 2020 had the foot surgery, had an extensive period where I couldn't walk. I had to be off my foot to let the bone fuse. And then we went into COVID. So you want to talk about isolation and doing hard. And then to boot, my thought was stay off your foot as much as possible. Little did I know that was going to make the recovery a little bit harder. So recovering from the surgery, the anesthesia, and then learning how to use that foot again and strengthen all my muscles that had been laying around for 6 months was not an easy task. And let me tell you, I think a big part of that was the mood state that kind of goes downhill. And so it's really important that we're talking about this today, because I know many of you are doing hard. And I'm wondering if you could weigh in, what are some of the things that you do to support yourself as you're moving through things, and they may seem to be getting worse, but what do you do to hold yourself up and to push forward? And I really appreciate you mentioning that you're having to learn different things at 55. Raising adult kids, it does pose a challenge of mental and physical health changes as well. Learning who you are and things you didn't learn in your family. I know I just posted an article tonight. We were doing some personality measures and looking at who I am. And of course, I'm going through the book and I'm highlighting all the areas that I feel like I could use some growth, whether it's using my voice or thinking more clearly. But I know there's always growth work to do. And so Needing music, prayer, Bible studies, time with friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you stay in it when life seems to get worse? How do you envision the end goal? And what keeps you strong and grounded? What are some of the things that you've learned along the way? And Lori's saying, I've established a simple daily routine for personal care and for her children's lessons. And so I think absolutely establishing a routine can keep us going, can keep us moving forward. Having friends and exercise is key. I was just reading something that came across my screen this morning about how to stay strong in older years. And certainly we're all concerned about keeping our memories intact. And there were two things that were mentioned. And one was being active socially. And the other one was exercise. Exercise is not underrated. In fact, as I'm preparing for getting through the dark days, we've had a drastic change in temperature here, and I wake up and it's dark. I go to bed and it's dark. And so for me, I hit the floor this morning with my weights and my exercise videos, because if I don't, I won't be strong emotionally and physically to get through the winter. We're just not as active here in Ohio. People aren't out and about like they are in the warmer states. Exercise is huge for mental well-being. Actually, I believe in one of the therapists that had a Netflix special mentioned that he believed exercise was 85% of our well-being. So talking with wise others, I see someone's practicing a part of the core, identifying your wise others, talking with them. And I have that on my list as well. One of the things we want to do is select out those people who can build us up and do not tear us down. And we have some choices in that. Absolutely. And actually, this morning, I see T. Howard's mentioning you can buy a special light. I have a big round light that my daughter bought me that I put on. You can't look directly at it, but it is a sun lamp. And I put that on in the morning while I'm doing my exercising so that I can stimulate the light. I know for those of you in the Northeast, most likely vitamin D supplements are helpful as well. And so I have a whole repertoire of behavior that I engage in, and I encourage other women that I work with to do the same. Any other thoughts? God has given answers to prayer with physical signs. That's awesome. One of the things I feel that gives me a sense of optimism and joy is when I get to see a part of what's wild out in nature. And it's these little moments where I'm noticing, and I feel like those are kind of God moments. Yesterday, when I was working, I went out to the kitchen and in the back window, and I saw a family of 8 turkeys coming by. We have wild turkeys. We call them the Talmadge turkeys, and they were trotting through the backyard into the woods. And just those little moments bring me joy, remind me of our Creator, and brighten my spirit. How about you? And Amanda is, let's see, it's Karen tonight. I'm sorry. Karen, could you put in the chat how our ladies can post a private message? We have the Facebook, we have a question tracker, and you can post a private message. I don't have the link for it here, but we do have support from Karen, and she will post that for you. All right, B complex. I haven't used a good B complex in a while, but I could use one. Vitamin D, always to be taken with K. Absolutely. So I have some ideas on my list as well. Drawing close to God. It's always a good time to get quiet, to spend some time in contemplation and prayer. maybe utilizing and memorizing scriptures. Let me just see here. Okay. One of the things that we want to talk about a little bit tonight is a community of support. Remember when I said one of the two things that would help keep our memory intact and as we age to keep us healthy and strong is the support of a community. And I've been doing some reading by an author of Curt Thompson talking about suffering. And one of the things that he mentioned in the book of suffering is how we heal in the context of community. And this is a message that I've been hearing all along as I've been working with Leslie, who has compelled me to really understand and embrace the truth that we do receive help individually, but we do heal in the context of community. And everything that we do this side of heaven involves with others and one another. And so we want to find ourselves in a supportive community. So I'm wondering how many of you out there have a supportive community that you can use to build you up, to sit with you when things are hard, to hear your stories, to walk with you. And if you do so, put that in the chat, please. Yeah. So we've talked about a few things. A couple other things that I have in terms of building ourselves up while we're doing the hard would be an artistic outlet. And I'm wondering, 2 people, Lori. Yeah. Yeah. We don't need many people in our circle. Often we don't have the energy for a large amount of people if we're going to go deep and be known. So don't feel like you have to be the most popular one in the crowd with a lot of friends. We don't have enough energy to go around to have deep relationships with a large amount of individuals. So a couple close friends who are available and able to be there with you, good listeners, can be an amazing strength. Now I'm going to, let's see here, building your team of support. I did mention grounding exercises, artistic outlets. I'm telling you, one of the things that I did for a long time after a work day would come home and paint rocks. It was extremely therapeutic for me. And we had a thing for a while here, and I'm not sure if that was across the nation, but people would paint rocks and then leave them for others. So we'd paint them for different occasions, Christmas, Thanksgiving, paint messages on them, and then just leave them hidden. Yeah. So I'm seeing that you have some connection, some friends. I have many women that I work with that have met other ladies through our Conquer community, and they have long distance relationships of support that have been extremely important because they want another together in some of the similar things that they're moving through. So I want to offer you just the knowledge and the understanding that we have Conquer opening. It will be open until the 17th at midnight, and it will not be open again until March. So this is your chance to get in on that and start your Conquer journey along with a whole host of other individuals that are doing the step to the journey, and then just becoming a part of a larger group. So I'm finding that when you're going through the worst before it gets better part of healing, you need some fantastic support to keep you going. And that's why we're here tonight, to offer you the Conquer membership, but also to support you in the lives that we do so that you feel heard. And you can do that through the chat. You can also ask your questions. There will be a time later in the broadcast where I'll ask if you have questions, and I'll try to answer them. And also, we have a Conquer community on Facebook. But the Conquer support group is our education and support group that was started many years ago by Leslie, who at the time never dreamed that it would become such a large community of supportive others. And so it's an opportunity for you to drop in. Membership can be monthly or annually, depending on what your commitment level is, but it's a great way to focus on positive growth. There are lots of educational videos to watch along with handouts. I don't know about you guys, but I love learning. So I take the handouts. I use them regularly. I can replay some of the videos as I'm growing. There are other things that I'm looking at addressing and changing in my life as well. And so we don't want you to miss out on that. But it's a good chance for you to take the opportunity to get your feet wet and to learn about the program. And I think along with that, you can learn how to manage your life and manage the transitions that you're going through. I can't tell you enough the amount of positive feedback that I get, and I see people growing rapidly. And I want to thank you for your comments. Yeah, I have a lot of art projects. I don't have them here. One of the things that I've done to get me through the winter is I do some fused art glass. I found an artist who does that. She has a kiln, and we practice that. And it's interesting how things grow. When I met this woman, she was just teaching at an art museum, and little did I know that we would become friends. She's going through some hard right now, and I'm hoping that I can be a support and an encouragement for her, and as she shares her skills with me, and that's how friendships grow. So I don't want you to be discouraged. I know many of you have said that you've become isolated through circumstances or relational difficulties. And well, if you're like me, you're an introvert. I don't know how many introverts we have out there, but I'm naturally quiet. And so it may take a little bit more effort for you to get out and be social. Yeah. So Kathy, I'm looking at your post. It says I've got lots of friends, but no one that wants to walk this road post-divorce. I'm grateful for my counselor. People seem to be busy these days. No more connections like before. And I want to ask if you just put in the chat, what would be most helpful for you if you had a partner that understood the road? In what ways would support be helpful for you? What kind of support do you think is most helpful when you're in a difficult situation, going through a divorce, maybe been in a difficult or destructive relationship, which tends to be the function of our support group and educational? So what might that be? We have a small audience tonight, so I have a feeling we're going to have a large replay. So I'm going to need you ladies to interact with me. I want to ask you some questions. When you're doing hard and you're feeling like things are just not good, what are some questions that you ask yourself? What are some of the thoughts that you might have difficulty with, or the questions that you might be asking yourself in the middle of hard? So I'm hearing that what would be most helpful for you is that you would want support in validating knowing that you're not crazy. And I'm gonna share something that I think might help with that. I think we do need external validation. But I responded to somebody this morning on our Facebook page, was asking the question, providing some clarity on the situation. Who was right in the situation? In essence, am I crazy, or is this what's really happening? And my response to that was, what do you choose to believe? Your experience and your observations of what's happening to you and around you, or someone else's narrative? And so I recognize that it's really helpful to have other people who get it. It's very, very important. We need people helpers, pastors and teachers. You have a context of coaches here and individuals that really understand that part of the journey. When you're in a destructive relationship and it does get crazy and you do need validation, but we also need internal validation. And I loved that idea so much that I'm going to challenge myself with that and ask myself the question as I'm walking through, what reality am I believing? Am I looking to other people to validate my truth? Or am I looking to my experience and my observations? Because often we get so gaslit, we get so confused about what the reality is that we do feel crazy. And so I appreciate that comment. Yeah. And Kathy's saying encouragement to know and live in the truth, that though the sorrow may last for the night, joy comes in the morning. And it's interesting because I've been reading, I've mentioned this before, I've been reading Kurt Thompson's book called The Deepest Place. It's called Suffering and the Formation of Hope. And it comes to my attention and my awareness that this is our greatest area of growth when we're in the middle of difficult and when we're in the middle of change. And certainly many of you have chosen to step into that. And I'm sure once you take that step forward and it gets hard, there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of emotions that surface that would counter maybe the vision and the strength to move forward. I'm going to try something today, and I'm hoping I can do this. Let's see. I have a model for change, and it is called a change curve. Let me see if I can fix this. And I'm going to see if I can get it to, okay. Oh, here we go. I've never done this live, so I'm going to have to ask your apology. Let's see here if I can figure this out. Let's see what we've got. I may not be able to figure out, let's see what we got here. Here we go. So when things get worse, it means that something better is coming. I think that when we think about things getting worse, I think we're in the process of creating some change in our life, right? Can you all see the slide that I posted up there? I'm going to see if I can file. And what the quote says is that change means some things that worked in the past is going away. Yeah. I've got a bunch more I'd like to try to share with you, so you have to bear with me. This is a newbie for me. And I love this thought because it means that something that wasn't working is no longer functional for us. Henry Cloud talks about that in his book, Necessary Endings. And so one of the things I want to encourage you with and talk to you about today is how we embrace what we're thinking. And in the middle of it, reminding yourself of the truth that I am moving forward and I am letting go of what was no longer necessary, no longer working. I'm pruning my life for a season of new growth. And often when we prune our life, we don't see the new growth in the immediate now. And so it's really important that we recognize and know that there is loss with any change, whether it's positive change or negative change. There is a season of loss where we will enter into what I call the change curve. Oh, this is going to be really hard. I'm going to have to figure out how to get this in here. Grief, absolutely. So I'm told, let's see if I can find these files, ladies. So while I'm doing that, maybe you could weigh in on what you have been leaving behind that is no longer serving you and how you're wrapping your brain around that. Here we go. Sorry for this. I'm trying to download. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to try it again. I've got two. I don't know if you can you see that clearly? That's a little bit hard to see. But maybe you can take a picture and blow it up. But this is what's called the change curve. And it's actually based off of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's model of grief. And it is a thing. And I'm assuming that it's been researched. It's her model has been widely researched. But if you notice the change, we're starting with the old status quo, right? And there's a change, there's an engagement. And what ends up happening is there may be a bit of resistance. And as you're moving down the curve here, can you guys see that good enough? Is that big enough for you in your screen? If you can see that, just type a yes. I don't know how to make it any bigger. Let me see here. All right, can you see it okay? If you just let me know in the chat. Okay, great. So I wanted to show you this so it's tiny. Maybe if I could remove myself, let's see. To stage. Okay, can you hear me now? Oh no. Now can you hear me? All right. Well, we tried something, right? Okay. I've got one more that's really good, and I think it might be bigger. Let me see if I can pull this one in for you. Slides. My computer. Documents. Open. Let's see what this one looks like. There we go. I kind of want to, I love models because it helps me. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this one either. I'll see if I can drop, you know what I'll do? I'll add it to the video after the fact, but this is also the change curve. So take a screenshot of this. And I know you can't see it real well, but I'm going to walk you through it because I want you to know what happens. Whenever we create change, there's loss. There's emotions that are involved in this. and we're going to feel differently. It's not the norm. We're going to be robbing ourselves of the comfort of the known, right? And so I want you to know that, because I want you to know that this is a normal process. And if you can see the lines on the curve, at first, we might be immobilized or overwhelmed by the change that's occurring in our life, right? And we may go through a phase of just not feeling like it's really happening. There may be some confusion. And then when we hit the dip, we are actually kind of moving into the change process. And along the way, however God designed this, there is this transition in this process of us letting go of the former things. I will post them. I will post them in Conquer too, sure. And as you see down at the bottom of the curve, there's an acceptance of letting go. And once we get to that dip, we start going uphill. And guess what happens? I'm going to remove it now. Let's see. Okay. And guess what happens as we slide back up that curve? We get to a place, as in all things, as we need to do with a death or a change or a marriage, we get to a place of acceptance and letting go of the former things. Ladies, we don't want to be like Lot's wife and cling to what was no longer working, what was burnt down, what we decidedly made a choice to leave behind. We want to move forward with determination and visualize the end goal, even if it's not happening in the current moment. And along with that, we're going to be trying new behaviors. We're going to be stepping into all kinds of new skills that we didn't know. Many of you are on your own and you're having to learn to fix things, or for the first time, maybe finding mechanics, or, running the kids back and forth by yourself when you might have had someone sharing that with you, for whatever your circumstances are. But my point in showing you the model is, as you go up the curve, what we do notice is that you gain new skills of problem solving, endurance. We have a term called self-efficacy. The things that you never thought you could do, you develop the efficacy to know that you now can. That becomes a part of your strength and what I call your chutzpah for moving forward in life. And you integrate all of these changes as we leave behind what was no longer working. And that the top of the curve is growth. It's new growth. And it's a different, more mature part of you. Yeah. So what questions do you have for me about the process of embracing change? One of the things I want to say to you is that successful change really comprises us being willing to do the hard and to hang in there, providing all of the things that we talked about today with supporting yourself and strengthening yourself. But it also means that something that wasn't working is gone, so we can embrace that, right? And there will be times and moments where you long for what was good, or what you thought was good, what felt good. But life changes. And it is a process of letting go and stepping into new things, creating new habits, new routines, new schedules. A couple questions I'd like to ask you, and then I'm wondering, I don't seem to have a support person today. I don't see her out there, so I'm wondering. I think you're going to have to ask your questions in the chat for me. But I want to leave you with. Let me just text here and see if I can get a support person. Some questions to ask yourself when you're in the middle of this process trying to get to the better part of healing is, how will I let this transition define me? What will this transition say about me in this moment? Hmm. So I've asked the question, and I'm seeing from Lorianne, you're saying, I'm learning to accept the backhand compliment when my husband gets angry at me during my morning devotions. It's so interesting that he gets angry at your morning devotions and the backhanded comments. I'm wondering if learning to accept it or learning to let go of his words. And so, how will I let this transition or whatever it is that I'm going through define me? Will it make me stronger? Will it make me better? That I have dignity. I don't know about you, but when I embrace the fact that I can be a warrior and an empowerer of other women, it changes how I see myself. And I don't. It's blatantly Annie. It has deepened my faith. I will let it define me, in that it's deepened my faith, and that I have dignity in how I will walk through this, how I will respond to it. Yeah. How will I let it define me that my husband makes nasty comments when I'm doing my morning devotions? What will I let that tell me about myself? So, Faith, I want to encourage you with your thoughts and your words. It's really, really important, our dialogue and what we tell ourselves about what's happening to us. So it is hard and sad. That is the truth. But is there something else that I can add to that? While I'm allowing myself to face the truth that this is hard and that I do have sadness, what will I tell myself that will help me to be determined that there is another side? Yeah. So, and so maybe you can weigh in on that, Faith. God is my strength. There you go. He will see me through. I can do, I might tell myself I can do hard. I can do sad. And that this is temporary. It will not always be this way. You guys are great. Hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. Yeah. Yeah. I would need some declarative statements that would help me move forward. I can do hard. I can grow strong. Good. You guys are doing great. I can learn to recognize this stuff is not about me. When he's making comments about my choices for my spiritual development, I can just notice. I don't know about you guys, but I would be grateful that God has placed that in my heart. And for me, it's the polarizing, like he's not choosing that. But thank God the Holy Spirit has shown me that I have a deep desire to know him and to be with him. Yeah. Yeah. And learning to recognize that his stuff is not about me. And so I want to ask another question is, what strengths am I bringing to the table? What strength? God-centered, not husband-centered. Love that. Yeah. What strengths am I bringing to the table? It is a willingness to learn a new strength. Yes. Just being willing to learn some new things. I can almost feel the difference in the energy of fighting against the change and being willing to step into growth. That's huge, a mindset shift. Knowing when to step out of an argument and choosing not to be a participant in it can help to grow new skills, new strength. And wow, it can bolster really the ability for you to not engage in what's destructive. And honestly, when you choose to change, things change around you. Openness, vulnerability. Yeah. Yeah. So ladies, this is interesting. I just found out we don't have support because the Facebook Live is not till 7:30, so I'm on early. So it looks like I'll be doing another one at 7:30 maybe. Openness and vulnerable. Wow. Okay. So I'm bringing openness, vulnerability, not participating in the arguments, willingness. Absolutely. I get to choose who I'm becoming in the midst of this. I am. I'm an hour early. I'm wondering why we don't have support, and I'm an hour early. Okay. I don't have to listen to thoughts and words that are destructive in this. There we are. Absolutely. So we have 10 minutes left until the Facebook Live is supposed to start. What questions? Oh, if your husband is harassing you while you're doing devotionals, that says way more about his character than yours. Yeah, absolutely. So what questions do you have? What questions do you have for me as we kind of wind up our time together? I don't have to internalize what is said about me. Absolutely not. Self-love and authenticity. Absolutely. Yeah. Can you say more about the loneliness, Faith? It is understandable to need extra sleep. Well, I mean, you think about it, your body is going through transition. You're trying new things. You will need to care more for yourself when you're under more stress. Change is stressful. And anything out of your comfort zone is stressful. I was having heart palpitations because I had to do a Facebook Live alone tonight. I'm used to having my buddies here with me, and it's not something I'm used to doing. And so it's extra tax on your body. And we do have physical consequences as a result of that. I can see. So one of the things I might say to you, Faith, about the loneliness is that it will be temporary. That you will not all, you may feel alone, but you are not alone. I would add some scriptures that might support that as well. I would engage with your sisters in the community here who are going through the loneliness, but you must seek out social support. If it's an exercise group, someone in your community to walk with, you don't have to talk about your situation when you're with others, but we need one another. We heal in the context of community. We observe one another and hold one another up in the context of community. Okay. Tell God how you, yeah. So a positive statement about the loneliness I might say to myself is, I'm feeling really lonely now, but I'm not alone. I can choose to be with others. And I would also remind yourself that I'm feeling alone now, but I might not always live alone. I might not always be alone. Lori, I'm reading your comment. It's normal for husbands. I don't use the term normal. I would say, is it healthy? Is it reasonable for a husband to be advised that he needs to watch over you? I think what he's saying is that he doesn't trust your judgment. And often when things are changing and they're not going the way that he may want them to, he wants to give some pushback. There is an aspect of control to that. That I would not be willing to open the door to. I might engage in a comment with him about, I'm learning to grow and get strong, and this is a part of my process. You can feel free to follow up and say what you think, but I'm on my journey. There you are. And I think talk more about that. What is that? So this is interesting. I'm communicating with our admin, and we're going to have another live on the same topic in the next hour when I was supposed to be on live. So Janet, what do you want me to talk more about? I'm a little bit confused. When we are changing, I don't know. I like to talk in terms of a dance. Relationships are like a dance, and we learn to dance with one another. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what we tolerate, how we behave. And whenever you change that dance from something that's different, the other individual is not expecting that change, and so they observe the difference, they notice the difference, and in response need to do something different. And so sometimes that individual becomes dysregulated around the change. And certainly if it's an individual that's used to having control and having things their way, that's not going to be okay with them. So they're going to try to get you to dance in the same manner that you used to, but you've learned some new steps and you like this new dance. And so you have to fight against the pressure to go back to what it once was, or to acquiesce to what the other person is wanting you to do or how they want you to be. Oh, yeah. So I'm seeing in the chat, Lori, that you're talking a little bit about some toxic theology. And I want to encourage you to engage in, Leslie has a lot of blog posts about the husband being God's chosen leader. One of the things that we need to know is that doesn't give him power and control to dominate over you and to take away your right to think and to feel. And to determine your course of action and your steps. That's toxic theology. There's a book called the Making of. Let me look it up here. The Making of Biblical Womanhood. Let me look it up here. And it's a good read. Here it is, The Making of Biblical Womanhood, and it is by, who's the author here? Beth Allison Barr, who is a professor. And I would encourage you to pull up her book and look her up on YouTube. If you're in Concord, I posted something about this today. I posted a talk that she did on the Concord Community Facebook page. But I think, ladies, if you've been under this toxic kind of theology, we really need to learn what God is saying to us and not someone else's version of the truth. Now I have to close this out because we're going to start another Facebook Live. And so you're welcome to come back on. Thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate your time and your attention. I will see you in just a couple minutes. God bless.